Well, greetings. My name is Bolanile Patterson, and welcome to Women Healing Globally with the 9 dimensions of health and wellness. So it's a long time coming. I have started and stopped this thing before. I did a relocation, engagement broke off. Um, a lot of changes, but I know changes for the good, right? It doesn't seem like it is at the time, but I'm so grateful to be in this space that I'm in because it's an opportunity now for me to have a reset, to focus on me, to give myself some self love. You know what I'm saying, which is long overdue. Instead of looking outside myself in order to give love, right, or get love. And so I'm very, very grateful to be in this space here now. And so today's subject, I'm not going to um, belabor the hour, right? But today's subject, again, is going to be women healing globally. And please, this is like my second podcast, right? So I'm still new, getting to learn all of the politically or the, I guess, the YouTube etiquette. I'll say that the YouTube etiquette, what's to say, what not to say. I'm doing my best. I'm practicing. I'm, trying to do the spiel, but um, please allow me some grace and mercy is what I say. Okay. So with that being said, but I do believe that I have a message to share. And one of the reasons why I birthed Women Healing Globally is to reach a broader audience of women internationally and globally across the world. The 9 dimensions, when you think about it: social, environment, career, financial, emotional, spiritual. I know I'm missing some. Got to do environment. But anyway, I have these 9 dimensions to share with people because these are areas that we need to help healing with, right? Or at least from a perspective of, hey, am I unaligned in this area of environment? My environmental wellness. Am I aligned in my financial wellness? Am I, could I do better in my social dimension of awareness, right? Intellectual, emotional, all of these things, because if we are to be honest, people throw around that word, well, I'm not perfect. Well, we know that you're not perfect, but guess what? Some of us actually believe that we are. Some of us believe the lie that we got it all together. You know what I'm saying? Like some of us actually believe that. And I'm sorry to tell you, but no, we don't all have it all together. And we all need support. We all need a sounding board, someone of reason who knows us well enough to know and say, you know what, let me call you on that right there. And that's why this subject today, in reference to women, the social healing among women, is dear to my heart, because as a woman myself, and my interactions with other women, my interactions with my daughter, my interactions with myself as a woman, hey, there have been some challenges. There have been some things, some areas in my life where, I can do better with. I can show up better in. So that's my goal, right? My goal is to heal one dimension at a time by addressing one dimension at a time. With that being said, let's go on and get into it. This is the second episode. Remember, I mentioned that episode exploring the 9 dimensions of health and wellness. And today we're going to be focusing on the social dimension, specifically social awareness among women. So I like to go ahead and lead with that and also share what that dimension actually means. What is the definition of that dimension? And so when we delve into that, we'll see how to relate to one another, what shapes our interactions and the deeper truth about what really goes unspoken. Some things need to be said, but then there's some things that we don't say that we should say, but because of our social setting, our environment, what we've been given permission and how to say something. You can, and do we need to say it? You know what I'm saying? It's learning how to read the room, as they say, right? How do we speak up for ourselves? When to speak up for ourselves? When to show up for ourselves and our other women? When is it a time to do that? You know, and what is the appropriate time? It's called, I think, what I call it, emotional etiquette, right? Uh, Emotional and social etiquette. Um, so yes, that's what it is. Social etiquette. That's what I'm going to call it, right? So, as we do this, and please forgive me, I'm going to get used to not saying the ums and the but right now, my whole goal is to just actually just take a leap of faith and do it, right? I was a little intimidated with this whole YouTube thing and how to get into it and have it perfect. And I'm still got to learn all these tools. It can be a little intimidating and overwhelming. I'm just saying. And I see all the other people's YouTubes all perfected and everything. But you know what? I do hear them say, you know what? It's not about that. It's just about starting it. And hopefully my goal is not only to this platform that I'm starting with Women Healing Globally, it's also I look for it to get better and better each time, right? To get rid of the hiccups and stuff like that. But now I'm just starting, and that's okay. I'm start just where I'm at. I'm sorry, that's on my lip. Um, Starting just where I'm at, and that's that. I'm sorry, there's something going on. Something on my lip. Mm, hold on, hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Okay, we good now. So again, some of y'all gonna be like, she ghetto as hell. I don't even care. She is so ghetto and unpolished. What in the world? But hey, I can't do nothing but keep it real, you know. I mean, yeah, I try to be a professional and have this, this lady like mystere, but sometimes look, you just ain't got it there. Sometimes it just ain't that. But anyway, all right, I'm going to continue because I don't want to continue on and drag it on, right? So a goal, social healing among women. So I'm going to go through some points, and I'm reading this, some of it, and we'll delve into it, but to kind of just keep me focused, so I'm just wandering off into the abyss of just sidetracked with all these other things. So until I get it really down, down right and got it. But this is where I'm at right now. The truth we don't always say. Hmm. Relationships between women can carry unspoken tension, comparison, resentment, and silent competition. These are things that are human. It's not a failure, but I would implore you to think about areas where how you showed up. Have you silently, unconsciously, or consciously had um, comparisons or resentment, or you know what I'm saying, or some type of competition against another woman? Have you? I have. Not so much where like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something about me. I am not I've never, because my relationship to my mom, or lack thereof, I was raised with my mom up until about on and off until I was about 13 years old. And then I was placed in foster home. And then from there, I went into adulthood on my own, once they release you into the wild, right? So I didn't have that relationship with my mom to be able to show me or guide me with how I am to really interact uh, as a daughter, as a mother, as a friend, you know what I'm saying? I didn't really have that. Now, my mom, I don't hold anything against her. My mom suffered from her own mental illness battles, right? But she was also an educated woman. I recall I try to pick out the good times, and focus on those versus some of the not so good times, where there might have been verbal or physical abuse. But I do understand that a lot of that was tied into her mental illness, right? I'm not excusing it, but it's just the truth of what happened. Um, and I have now, as a woman of my own, now decided to say, you know what, the buck stops here. I have to take care of my mental health, because if not, it's going to affect more generations and generations and my lineage to come. And I just don't feel like that is something I want to pass on to my children, right? I have three, excuse me, I have three children, now adults. My daughter's the oldest, and I have two sons and a grandson. So I'm happy to say that they are very proactive in their own individual mental health, which they go and seek counseling. My daughter, she's excellent. She's like, Mom, I'm going to counseling. She's been doing this for years. My youngest son, my oldest son, he's been sober now for 5 years. He goes to his meetings, he does his thing to take care of his mental health. My youngest son has been asking about, hey mom, I want to, get into, doing some counseling and stuff like that. My grandson, it gets therapy. So, and I have gotten therapy and am signed up for therapy in my for my own mental health, so to maintain my own mental health as well. Actually, I got an appointment coming up on Monday, so I'm grateful. But again, see how I can get sidetracked? You see what happens? But my point was is that it's important to have that. It's important to do the work, right? Nobody wants to do the work. Everybody want to talk about it, but nobody want to do the work, right? What is that Kevin Hart used to say? Everybody want to get rich, but nobody want to do the work, right? Nobody want to put the work in. You want the money, right? But you have step in it, right? But whatever. Um, so yeah, the truth we don't always say. Relationships between women can carry unspoken tension. That thing where you have a friend, a sister friend, and uh, it's good when you kikiing and ha-haing, but maybe you see something, some behavior or something she said that bothers you or whatever, or how she's behaving while y'all out, kicking it, and you want to call her on it, but you can't, or you don't feel comfortable enough because sometimes relationships, or we've been taught that relationships are just surface. We say we want somebody to hold us to the carpet and say something, and it's not what you do but how you do it, and it's not what you say but how you say it, right? If you are delivering it in the best intentions of care and love and honesty and authenticness, then it should be received, or it should be a space held for that. Of course, nobody's going to receive nothing when you're coming to them in judgment, or bitterness or resentment or whatever. Because when you're not able to talk about those things directly with the person who you feel has offended, or the woman who offended you or whatever, or her made the wrong, or maybe you made the wrong, an error in judgment of judging another woman or your friend, then that can build up as resentment, and that can build up as hidden comparison, you know what I'm saying, or insecurities that are triggered because you see this woman doing this, or your daughter's doing this, that but see, the insecurities don't stem from outside of you, they all start within. That's what I've learned. So I'm not a woman, really. I've never really been a woman that's been jealous and stuff like that. No, I can see a woman today and see a woman, a beautiful woman, and be like, hey, she's attractive, or she's smart, she's intelligent, and give her flowers. But there's a lot of women who silently just don't have your, best intentions. And that's what I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn the hard way with friends that I knew for years, sisters that I knew for years, that did not have my best interest in mind. There was always something that seemed to come up that It showed up in forms of betrayal, right? Showed up in forms of betrayal. And I've forgiven it and I've healed from it. But the lesson was is that I needed to maybe vet women a little bit more. But one of the reasons I did not, again, because I didn't have a woman in my life, my mom, to show me what a healthy dynamic of a relationship with a woman was, right? I didn't have a healthy relationship or a non-existent one with my own mom. How am I going to do that? And I really didn't care to. It wasn't conscious on me enough to want to actually do that. I did not want to, I never had the desire to seek women relationships. I just didn't. I wanted I wanted my man, my husband, my kids. That's it. And the white picket fence and whatever I fell into the societal norms of what a normal family looked like. That's what I wanted. Simple girl, right? But it didn't end up that way. But nevertheless, okay, let's stay on topic. So comparison, resentment. I have a cousin that we're not talking today. It's been almost 5 years now. We have a very small family. I'm my only mother's child and only daughter, and she's an only child. And she's 3 years older than me. But we got into it over something. It did get a little bit volatile, but nothing that, because we were very close before then. I made mention or spoke of some things about a family member, her granddaughter to be exact, and it did not go well. Now, I will say there was alcohol involved. There's a little alcohol involved, so I'm just saying. But again, if I'm a woman, I'm sure enough to know that if I do something to someone, if I have said something to someone who or did something to bring them any hurt, harm, or danger, or hurt their feelings, I am quick to say, you know what, let me correct this. Let me just, you know what I'm saying? I ain't too big where I can't just go and apologize. So I've extended the olive branch a couple of times to her, 2 or 3 times. Check in, see if you want to talk to me. Oh, no, okay, all right. I did my part, you know. And so I went ahead and I just let it go. I leave it to God. So maybe one day we will. I still love her. I still care about her. I have 3 children now grown. She has 2. They still talk. The kids still talk to each other, and here we are not talking to each other. What kind of sense does that make? But nevertheless, it is what it is. The resentment. So you see how people can hold resentment against you and you not even really know why, or it's never resolved. So therefore you got this lingering energy in you. Somebody mad at you, you mad at somebody, you carrying this toxic mess in you and thinking that you living right and that it's not damaging you internally. It is. Trust me, whatever is going on in you always comes out. I'm telling you, it always does. Nobody can hide it. They call it liquid courage, but your character courage. When you show who you are, when adversity comes up in life, that's the quickest way to learn who are your friends or your foes. Will they abandon you? Will they reject you? I'm talking about women. Will we abandon each other? Will we reject each other? Will we, exclude each other? I've actually done abandoned women friendships over a man. Sure have. When I was younger. Well, even probably, yeah, a little bit older too. Let's keep it real. Because the man said, she ain't for you, right? And I didn't have enough sense to use my own mind. These were women who welcomed me into the village. And because he said, that woman ain't for you, that ain't your friend. But I didn't realize that was part of his plan to manipulate and isolate me, right? From the village, right? So, and I shouldn't have shared some things with him with bedroom talk, right? I thought, maybe sharing, some things that I observed, he would give me a balanced approach. No, he gave me, no, don't hang with them no more. And guess what? I follow suit. But anyway, let's go on. Mothers and daughters, mothers model womanhood and daughters observe patterns. Oh my gosh. My daughter, my sons too. They've all, my issue have been with relationships to men, unfortunately, and women, right? I know we're talking about women, but I have abandoned myself. Okay, I just gave you an example. I have abandoned my women friendships over a man. I've abandoned my children at points in my life earlier over my husband or my man, right? Because I didn't have enough self love. I didn't have enough self love to say, this ain't right. No. Why would I do that? These are my kids, right? And they've forgiven me and we've moved on and they're healed from that. But um, I'm telling you, man, you will. What I understand is because what I didn't have, what I wanted in life, was to have a family, to have a husband, to have just live what I thought was a perfect, normal life. And I never got that. I've been through a few marriages. I got two baby daddies. They're both deceased now, I'm saying all I wanted to do, I was chasing this ideal of family and marriage and commitment and all of these things, but I didn't give that to myself first. I was looking outside of myself. So now that I've learned that, I know now what I will align myself with, and I will never abandon myself again. So therefore, if I don't abandon myself, guess what? I'm not going to abandon my kids. I'm not going to abandon my sisterships or my tribe, my friends. I'm not going to do that. Now, if there comes a time when maybe you need to set some boundaries with some things with your sister friends, of course, that's okay to do, but you got to allow space for that to happen. Okay. Alrighty. So resentment, mothers and daughters. So, like I said, my daughter's seen me, the examples I've went through, how I've not shown up for her, how I've not shown up for myself, which means that I haven't shown up for my kids. And these are very vulnerable moments and that I'm sharing with you. But in order to really heal, you have to get down to the ugly, dirty sides that are grungy, like, ugh, girl, you did that type of stuff, right? Because I don't, you can be surface level all you want, and you're going to get surface level healing, right? Surface level keep you safe to, well, I'm just going to say this part, but I don't gonna really say that, that I was with that dude down the street. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to go into that, right? Nobody really want to share their, well, we don't share our, black folks, we got a real thing, especially when it comes to sharing our dirty laundry, right? And it's not that you just go out sharing it with anybody, because of course people have misused that information, judged you, and put you in a category, right? It's not for that. And that's another reason why I created Women Healing Globally, because we can talk surface about how, oh boy, hurt you, how this woman did this to you, blah, blah, blah. But it starts with you. We can't, you gotta, okay, yeah, that happened. But now how do we change the story? How do we change the story? The story that aligns with you, aligning with goodness and wealth and love and success and um, your mission, your purpose in life. How do we get there, right? How do we aspire to be better, greater beings while we're here in this time? So that's my thing. Yeah. So again, I'm just gonna follow this. um, okay. Healing requires awareness and accountability, right? It start with you. When I would talk to my kids about certain things, and they've seen me go through, like I say, countless, relationships or marriages, I would say, because I've had, like I say, at least three. right? Marriages. But again, that's what I want. And I used to feel embarrassed about talking about that because, like, dang, like you say, what's wrong with you, right? But, because I've learned, yeah, I do desire to have a person, but I didn't understand really what marriage was. I didn't understand what marriage really required. I just wanted the title. I want to be married, I didn't know what really came with it. So by the time I actually learned, like I've learned now I'm ready. Now I'm ready, And when as I continue to get more ready, and that's not my focal point anymore, like that was all I wanted back then. That was all I wanted to do. I wanted to have a relationship. I want to be married. And I want to have a good man. And I want to raise our kids. And I want to do this. And I want to go shopping. And I want to go, jet, whatever. But it's more to life. I want us to have a purpose, to be the power couple. Okay, then what? Then what? You know? So now, since I have a better understanding of what it is I actually want in a partnership or a marriage, I'm a little more selective now. Instead of just coming around when the first man that comes and says hi to you, no, falling all to pieces. No, I got standards now. I got boundaries now. These are things I didn't have before. And I am just loving on me, and that's good. That's a first. Spending some time with me, focused on me building my legacy for my offspring, for my children, my adult children. Focusing on what Bolanile wants to do, right? Focusing on her dreams, her goals, her success. That is a new thing for me. A new thing for me. I have done everything in my bag to just in my past to just try to distract myself from me. And guess what my name means? The wealth of this house. My mother knew to give me a name that I had to grow into. And it means the wealth of this house. And I didn't know what wealth meant. I thought it was external. But now, since I know, I know they're like, don't cry on YouTube. It's emotional. And because if my mother didn't give me anything else, she gave me a name that meant something. She took the time to say, yeah, I'm going to give my daughter a good name. So that's what I did. I am learning now to be the name, walk in the name, right? Walk in the wealth. The wealth was already in me. It was already in me. So, yeah. So we turn to healing. Yeah, let me get back to that. Returning to healing. This isn't about blaming women. This is about awareness. Okay. We stop seeing each other as competition. Those are the things that we need to stop doing. This is not about a one-up. This is not about hidden agendas and motives and all that. We need to build strong communities, strong support systems where we help each other. And I'll never forget, I'm going to just add this part. I don't know if anybody remembers seeing the movie Beloved. I love that movie. I love that movie because it had so many spiritual gems in it. And the one that stood out for me I have kept in my mind's eye since then, when that movie came out with Oprah Winfrey and all of the other amazing, beautiful women actors, was the part where Theta, I hope I can say it right. Theta was, she was carrying this weight, this demon, right? And the guilt of her, hurting her kids because so she didn't want Massa to get them. She was like, "No, I'm gonna take my own kids out. You ain't gonna have them." And I get it. I understand. During that time, you like, no, yeah, you won't be whooping on my babies. I'm gonna be the one, right? And like I was saying, like, whether a man was around or not, my mom going through mental illness and all that, I decided that was not something I was going to pick up. So I became proactive in my own mental health, right? Somehow rather consistent. I would do 6 months here, 8 months here, maybe a year here, and then maybe the next year I took a year off, whatever it is. I've always gone back to, I know what's worked. It's important to me. But the scene in Beloved is when the daughter finally comes out. She had been hiding behind her mother's shadow, right? She had been hiding behind, like, she carrying the weight of her mom, going through the guilt of her, what she did to her babies. The sons had left. They were like, I can't take it no more, right? It was too much. You could feel the energy in the house. So she finally went ahead, and the women started, she was going around trying to get some food. And like, we ain't got no food. We stood up here. This demon spawn of a sister I got is sit up here eating up, taking all the energy from my mom. She need, you know what I'm saying? Just taking, right? And this is what now we understand as the narcissist. That's what a narcissistic energy will do. It will deplete you. And you see how, and usually those energies are very attractive. Oh my gosh, they're so charming. And that's what disarms you, right? You're like, oh my gosh, they're so charming. They're so nice looking, and you just be, but underneath, a demon spawn, that's what she was. But that guilt was she was carrying that guilt for so long, she couldn't let it go. And so finally, when those women said they got together, honey, them praying women, they got together and they started showing up with food and, and helping. And that's community. That's a community of women. And people overlook that scene. But they started showing up despite their opinions of her. Well, because they was talking about it. They kept it real. Like, well, I don't know now. We know what she did. She did a horrible thing to her children. But you know what? She don't deserve that. That's what that lady said. That's what them women said. They said she don't deserve to be whooped continually by this demonic energy of guilt and shame. Her daughter is trying to, and so she finally, her daughter got a job. She started getting out in the world, and you know what I'm saying? And where boys started, liking her and stuff like that. And they came, and those women came, and they prayed that they came together, and they prayed that energy and that demonic energy off of her. Whew, thank you. That is how we show up. That's how we show up for each other. That's how women, that is the prime example. That is the best example I can give in how we as women show up for one another. Regardless on your opinion, regardless on what she did, regardless on if you agreed with it or not, regardless of she did this to your man, regardless of the betrayal, regardless, are you strong enough to show up for her if in need as a woman? I'll tell you now, it'd be difficult for me. But I understand that is the goal. That's the aim. I can put past my whatever grievances I might have and show up if she's in need and she crossed my path. Yeah. So with that saying, that goes into the religion and boundaries and grace, right? Sometimes we hide behind religion instead of doing the healing work. Forgiveness and boundaries can coexist. Forgiveness and boundaries can coexist together. That's what I'm saying. You can still forgive and set boundaries. Maybe that's what my cousin is doing with me. She's just saying like, look, I forgive you, but I ain't messing with you. And I got to accept that. And that's okay. And I don't feel no kind of way about it. I used to earlier on, but I understand that's her journey. I can't force somebody to want to be my family and, talk to me. What kind of sense does that make? But the Most High will replace those when you're ready. You'll replace them with other women friends, other family members, or people we can call family, right? So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Grace means releasing bitterness, but not accepting harm. And in my closing, where can you extend grace? I would say start with extending grace to yourself first, because sometimes it's easier said than done, because we say that we forgive ourselves, but we are our hardest and worst critics of ourselves. I know, because I am. I rarely tell myself secretly and say, you know what, Bolanile, you did a good job. You know what, Bolanile, you did this good today. I rarely say that. I rarely acknowledge my accolades or accomplishments. You know, I don't go around bragging about them and all this stuff, but I rarely just give myself a pat on the back, and that's okay to encourage yourself. It's okay. You don't got to be haughty and arrogant about it, but it is okay to give yourself some encouraging, some support. Tell yourself you are the light, right? So, again, yeah, where can you set healthier boundaries? So I want you to leave with that tonight, this evening, ladies. The two things: where can you extend grace, and where can you set healthy boundaries? Again, this work is for us to heal collectively and individually, and come together globally so that we can affect the world and impact the world in a positive way that helps us all heal our families, our communities, man, our minds, ourselves. That's what it's about for me. That's my mission. So, with that being said, again, this is Bolanile Patterson signing off. May you continue to be well and prosperous. And this is the Balanced Cosmic Living, 9 Dimensions of Health and Wellness. And until next time, I hope you got some jewels and joys, some joys from listening to this podcast. I hope that there's something in it resonated with you. And I thank you for stopping by. May you continue to be well and prosper. Bolanile signing off. Light love.